There's a moment many men experience quietly, usually late at night, when the noise finally stops. No messages. No arguments. No one demanding explanations. Just silence. And in that silence, a question rises that's uncomfortable but honest. How did I lose myself trying to keep someone else? Maybe you recognize it. You were generous. You were patient. You gave time, money, energy, forgiveness, sometimes more than you could afford. You told yourself it was love, maturity, or loyalty. You believed that sacrificing a little more would finally bring peace. But instead of peace, something else crept in. Regret. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just a slow, quiet realization that the balance was gone. Older men don't usually regret loving. They regret abandoning their center. They regret staying when respect had already left the room. They regret explaining themselves to someone who had already decided not to understand. And the hardest part? Most of these choices felt reasonable at the time. They looked like strength. They were praised as commitment. But over time, they drained power instead of building it. Have you ever felt overlooked, only to realize later it was a hidden blessing? Have you ever chased harmony so hard that you ended up losing authority over your time, your emotions, your sense of self? This is where Stoicism steps in, not as cold philosophy, but as a mirror. A way to see clearly what went wrong without shame, and more importantly, how to reclaim what was lost. Stoic philosophy was built for moments like this. Not for avoiding relationships, but for mastering yourself within them. The Stoics understood something modern men are rarely taught. Emotional imbalance doesn't come from caring too much, it comes from needing outcomes you can't control. When your peace depends on another person's approval, attention, or affection, power quietly shifts away from you. In this video, we're going to break that cycle. We'll walk through powerful lessons rooted in Stoic wisdom, practical, real-world principles that help you regain emotional control, dignity, and inner stability. These are not theories. These are tools. Tools you can apply immediately, whether you're navigating a relationship, recovering from one, or preparing for the next chapter of your life. You'll learn why chasing affection backfires, why emotional reactions weaken your position, and why detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. You'll see how regret isn't punishment, but instruction. And how strength doesn't come from being chosen, but from choosing yourself. As we move forward, I want you to reflect honestly. Where did you give more than was asked? Where did you stay too long? And what would change if, from this point on, you moved with calm instead of urgency? If this resonates, stay with me. Like the video, subscribe, and let's begin rebuilding from wisdom, not emotion. Because not every loss is failure. Not every woman is destiny. And when emotion steps back, strength has room to return. Chasing affection feels harmless at first. It often disguises itself as effort, interest, or maturity. You text first. You apologize first. You adjust your schedule, your standards, your boundaries. You tell yourself you're being patient, understanding evolved. But Stoicism warns us early, what begins as effort can quietly become submission. The moment affection is no longer freely given, the dynamic shifts. One person invests more. The other observes. Respect doesn't disappear suddenly, it erodes slowly through imbalance. When you chase, you signal scarcity. And scarcity, no matter how well-intentioned, weakens desire. This is not opinion. It's human nature. Have you noticed how attraction often fades when you try harder? That's because desire thrives on freedom, not pressure. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus taught that wanting what you cannot control enslaves you. Affection from another person is outside your control. The moment you try to secure it through effort, explanation, or persistence, you give away your power. The practical action here is simple, but not easy. Stop chasing. Stop proving your worth. Stop filling silence with effort. Silence is not abandonment, it's information. When you step back, the truth steps forward. Either affection returns naturally, or it doesn't. Both outcomes protect your dignity. Think about it clearly. If someone is interested, they don't need convincing. If someone values you, they don't require pursuit. And if someone withdraws when you stop chasing, they were never choosing you, they were responding to effort. Stoicism teaches that dignity is preserved not by winning affection, but by refusing to beg for it. Detachment here is not coldness. It's balance. You don't withdraw to punish. You withdraw to observe. You allow space for reality to reveal itself. And in that space, you reclaim your center. Calm replaces urgency. Self-respect replaces anxiety. Imagine how different you feel when you're no longer waiting, checking, hoping. Your mind clears. Your posture changes. Your words slow down. This is the quiet strength Stoicism builds. The strength of a man who knows that what's meant for him doesn't require pursuit. Remember this: what you chase controls you. What you release loses power. Calm is attractive. Neediness repels. Detachment restores dignity, and dignity is always noticed, even when affection fades. Disrespect rarely announces itself loudly. Sometimes it arrives as sarcasm. Sometimes as dismissal. Sometimes as being ignored, interrupted, or taken lightly. And the instinctive response is emotional: anger, defensiveness, over-explaining. But Stoicism draws a clear line: the fastest way to lose authority is to react emotionally. Anger feels powerful, but it exposes vulnerability. The moment you react, you reveal where you're attached. You hand control to the other person. Marcus Aurelius warned that external events don't disturb us, our judgments do. Disrespect only gains power when you allow it to move you. The immediate shift here is restraint. Pause before you speak. Silence is not weakness, it's confusion for manipulation. When someone expects emotion and receives calm, the dynamic changes instantly. Calm becomes authority. Self-command ends the game. Ask yourself, why does this bother me? Is it truly about respect, or about ego-seeking validation? Stoicism teaches that emotional reactions are information, not commands. You feel them, but you don't obey them. You choose your response deliberately. Consider two men faced with the same disrespect. One reacts, raises his voice, explains himself, demands fairness. The other pauses, stays composed, maybe even disengages. Which man appears stronger? Which one keeps control? Respect follows the man who cannot be shaken. Non-reactivity does not mean tolerance. It means precision. You don't argue. You don't defend. You adjust access. You reduce engagement. You let consequences speak louder than emotion. This is higher-level strength, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. When you master this, your inner world stabilizes. Your energy is no longer hijacked by others' behavior. You become unpredictable in the best way, calm where emotion is expected, silent where noise is demanded. Pause before you speak. Power lives in restraint. Emotion is information, not command. You decide the response, and in that decision, you reclaim control. Seeking validation feels subtle. It doesn't look like weakness at first. It looks like politeness, cooperation, flexibility. You listen more. You adjust more. You soften your edges so you won't be misunderstood or rejected. But beneath all of it sits a quiet fear: what if I'm not enough unless they approve of me? Stoicism exposes this clearly. Validation is a leash. The moment you need approval, your behavior changes. Your words lose weight. Your presence loses gravity. Masculine presence is not loud dominance, it's grounded certainty. And certainty cannot exist when your value depends on someone else's reaction. Approval is borrowed power. It works only as long as it's given. The moment it's withdrawn, confidence collapses. That's why people-pleasing is exhausting. You're constantly adjusting, monitoring, performing. Not because you want to, but because you're afraid of losing connection. Fear of loss becomes the driver, and presence disappears. Ask yourself honestly, do you need to be chosen, or do you choose yourself? Stoicism teaches that self-trust must come before external respect. When you trust yourself, you don't rush to explain. You don't overcorrect. You don't beg to be understood. You stand calmly in who you are. Think about men you naturally respect. They're not chasing validation. They're not fishing for reassurance. They move at their own pace. They're comfortable with disagreement. That comfort sends a clear signal. I am grounded. Respect follows self-trust automatically. Indifference here does not mean apathy. It means emotional independence. You care, but you are not controlled. You listen, but you don't bend your identity. Freedom begins the moment validation becomes optional rather than necessary. When you stop seeking approval, something shifts. Your posture changes. Your voice slows. Your decisions become cleaner. You no longer negotiate your worth. You embody it. Strength is internal. Validation is optional. And the man who knows this cannot be shaken. Detachment is often misunderstood. Many men hear the word and think it means emotional shutdown, distance, or indifference. Stoicism teaches something very different. Detachment is not the absence of feeling, it is freedom from being ruled by feeling. Attachment blinds judgment.
Stoic delivery.
When you cling too tightly, you stop seeing clearly.
Minimally.
You tolerate
Anchor your
behavior
words
you
in
shouldn't.
Your presence.
You
Pause
ignore
after
signals you would
delivery.
normally
Let
recognize.
her process. Avoid
You
explaining.
justify imbalance because letting go
The
feels
words
like
themselves
loss.
are only 30%
But the
of
Stoics
impact.
understood that
The other
uncontrolled
70%
attachment
is
creates
tone,
suffering,
energy,
not
and
connection.
silence. This is why
Detachment
Stoic
sharpens
compliments
vision.
echo long after
When you
leave the
loosen your
room.
grip,
Putting it
reality
all
becomes
together,
visible.
imagine a conversation.
You see people
She
as they
teases you
are,
about something
not as you
playful.
hope they'll be.
You look into her
You
eyes
stop
and
projecting
say,
futures
"There's
that
something
haven't
dark
been
in
earned."
your eyes." I
Emotional
like it.
distance
Silence.
creates clarity,
She's intrigued
and
up
clarity
later,
restores
as the
balance.
playful banter continues.
Love can survive
you feel
distance.
dangerous. She
Control
feels
cannot
recognized.
survive chaos.
She feels free. She
A
feels
man
desire.
who remains
And
calm
in a
under
quieter
emotional
moment,
pressure
you feel
holds the
safe around
strongest
me,
position.
don't you? She's
Calm
anchored.
does not
She's
provoke.
surrendered. She's
Calm
invested.
does not chase.
She leaves the room thinking
Calm
about
observes.
you, not the other men.
And observation
She wonders
leads to
what
mastery.
You saw. She imagines
Non-attachment to
your calm,
outcomes is
confident
one of the
presence.
highest Stoic
She replays
disciplines.
your words all night.
You act
and the
with
remarkable
integrity,
part,
but you
never
release
chased,
the result.
You never begged.
You show
never
interest without
over-explained.
dependency.
Because Stoicism
You care
is not
without
about
fear.
effort. It's about
This
presence,
internal posture changes
observation,
everything.
and control.
People feel it
Conclusion.
immediately,
The Stoic
even
frame
if they
remember
can't
this.
explain why.
Stop generic praise.
Holding gently is
Stop
not
seeking
weakness.
approval. Stop
It's
pedestal
wisdom.
ing.
When you grip
Dot
tightly,
instead,
things slip
observe,
away.
acknowledge,
When you allow
and deliver
space,
with calm
respect
authority.
has room to
These
breathe.
three compliments aren't
Distance
lines.
restores
They are
balance
frames.
because it removes
Observation
desperation
plus
from the
curiosity
equation.
plus authority.
Most
each
regret
plants
in
a mental
relationships
seed
comes
which
from
reinforces your
overattachment,
Stoic,
not from
grounded
restraint.
presence. When you
From
combine
needing something
all
to
three,
work instead of
women
allowing
replay
it
your
to
words.
reveal itself.
Women imagine your
Detachment
presence.
protects you
Women
from this
begin
trap.
to fantasize.
You remain
respect,
whole whether
and
someone
desire
stays
the
or
man
leaves.
you've become. This
That
is
is
not
mastery.
manipulation. This
Clarity
is
lives in
psychological
space.
mastery plus
Control
Stoic
survives
energy.
calm.
And that is the
And the
difference
man who
between a man who
understands
is
this no
remembered
longer
and a
fears
man
loss,
who is forgotten.
because he never
Plant a
loses
seed.
himself.
Don't chase a reaction.
Every man begins
now we
with a
arrive
direction,
at the heart of this
even
lesson.
if it's unclear
the three
at
compliments
first.
that make a woman
A
think
sense of movement,
about you all night.
a pull towards
These aren't
something he's
generic
building,
lines. They
becoming,
aren't pickup
or
tricks.
mastering.
They are psychological
This is his
triggers,
mission.
delivered from
And the
mindset
moment a
of
man
Stoic,
abandons that mission
emotionally
for
grounded
desire,
man. They
something
are
subtle
designed
but
to plant
dangerous
thoughts in her
begins to
mind,
happen.
not to seek
His
approval.
identity starts to
Compliment
erode.
number one.
At
There's something
first,
dark
the
in your eyes.
sacrifice
I
feels
like it.
justified.
This isn't about
You
makeup.
spend less time
This
on your
isn't
work.
about sparkle or shine.
You delay your goals.
This is about depth.
You
When you
rearrange
say
your
this,
priorities.
you are communicating
You tell
several
yourself
things
it's
without
temporary,
stating them
that
outright.
balance will return.
You see beyond the surface.
But direction
you
doesn't
notice
disappear
mystery.
suddenly.
You acknowledge complexity,
fades quietly.
which most men ignore.
And when a man
most
loses
men
direction,
compliment women
attraction
on what's
follows
obvious.
soon after.
Beauty, smile,
Purpose
hair.
creates
A Stoic
attraction
man
because purpose
compliments what
creates
is rarely
gravity.
acknowledged.
A
The
man
inner
moving
energy,
forward
the
pulls
untold
others into
story,
his orbit.
the subtle fire
A
hidden
man
behind
who
her
stops
gaze.
moving to please
This
someone
flips
else
the power
begins
dynamic.
to drift.
She starts to
Stoicism
wonder,
is
what does he see in me?
uncompromising here.
That curiosity
You cannot
slowly
outsource your
evolves
meaning.
into mental replay.
A relationship
She thinks about
can
you while
complement your
alone.
mission,
She imagines
but it
what
can
you are
never
noticing.
replace it.
She builds a story
Ask
in her
yourself
mind,
honestly,
and you are at
who
the
were you
center
before
of it.
her?
Delivery
What were you
tip.
building?
Speak in a low,
What
calm
were you
voice.
disciplined about?
Hold her gaze for a second.
And now,
then
who are you
pause.
becoming?
Let silence do
When
the
desire
work.
overrides
Notice
direction,
the power here.
regret
You are not
isn't far
flattering.
behind.
You are observing.
Not because love is
Compliment
wrong,
number two.
but because
You feel
self-abandonment
dangerous.
always
This
carries
one
a
hits
cost.
a deeper psychological
A
chord.
man without a
Most
mission
women
becomes
hide their
reactive.
seductive, powerful
mood
energy
depends on
behind social
attention.
masks.
His
They are aware
confidence
of it,
depends
yet
on
cautious
approval.
to reveal it.
His
When you
decisions
acknowledge
depend
it
on
without
fear of
fear,
loss.
judgment, or
This
exaggeration,
is not leadership.
you create permission.
This is drift.
You feel dangerous.
And drift
Communicates,
destroys respect,
I see your fire.
both
I am
internally
not
and
intimidated.
externally.
I respect
Stoicism
your energy.
teaches that
This
your
is
duty is
magnetic
first to your
because it
character,
appeals to the
your
feminine
discipline,
shadow,
your
the
path.
part of her that is
Everything
intuitive,
else is
wild,
secondary.
and playful.
When you protect
Most
your
men
mission,
respond with
relationships
control,
either
judgment,
align
or fear.
or they remove
The
themselves.
Stoic man responds with
Both
containment
outcomes serve
and
you.
curiosity.
This does
Result,
not mean
she feels
emotional
free
coldness.
to express herself around
It
you.
means hierarchy.
Her energy flows toward
Your
you,
purpose
not
comes
away.
first because it
Attraction
stabilizes
flips.
everything
She now
else.
wants to impress you.
When a woman
Delivery
sees that you
tip.
do not
Use
abandon
when she's
yourself,
teasing,
trust
playful,
increases,
or slightly challenging.
respect deepens,
Calm tone. Minimal
attraction
words.
stabilizes.
Let your confidence silently
Sacrificing
anchor
your
the
mission
interaction.
never saves a
Compliment number
relationship.
3. You feel
It
safe
slowly
around
poisons
me,
it.
don't you? This one
But
is
protecting
subtle,
your
but
direction does
devastatingly
something
effective.
powerful.
Most
It
men
makes
try
you
to prove
unshakable.
safety.
Mission
Stoic
defines
men project
identity.
it naturally.
Everything
When you
else
deliver
is
this
secondary.
line, you claim
And
emotional
the man
leadership
who remembers
without
this
forcing
never
it.
loses
You create
himself
an
trying to
emotional
keep
anchor,
someone
a
else.
subconscious tether.
Rejection
You show her
hurts
that your
most when it
presence
shatters
is
illusion.
stabilizing. Force in
Not
her
the loss
world.
of the person,
Safety is
but
the
the
doorway
loss of the
to
future
intimacy.
you imagined.
A woman only
The
surrenders
conversations you
fully when
rehearsed.
she feels she can.
The version
Trust
of
your
yourself you
emotional
thought
center,
you'd become.
and trust grows
Stoicism
faster
teaches
than
that
any
this
physical
pain is
attraction.
not punishment.
Delivery tip.
It's
Speak
correction.
it as a statement,
Rejection
not a question.
removes illusion.
Let your calm energy
It
do the
strips
rest.
away fantasy
No
and forces
explanations,
reality to
no
speak.
justifications.
Most men
This
react by
compliment combines
explaining,
empathy with
chasing,
authority,
or
the
demanding
core of
closure.
Stoic masculinity.
But the Stoic
Why?
response is
These
silence.
compliments work. 1.
Not
They
because
flip
you
the
don't
power
feel,
dynamic you
but because
are
you
not trying to win
understand the
her.
opportunity
You are
hidden
observing,
inside restraint.
acknowledging, and allowing
Silence
her.
becomes
Space 2.
power when
They
you
engage
stop
her
leaking
imagination.
energy.
That implied
No
depth
messages.
mental. Seeds.
No
Women.
reactions.
Think about what you see in
No
them.
emotional
Mental
performances.
replay equals desire.
You redirect
plus
that energy
fascination.
inward.
3.
Growth
Showcase
replaces
Stoic qualities,
obsession.
calm presence,
Discipline
emotional control,
replaces
confidence.
longing.
Without need
You
authority,
begin to rebuild
without
quietly,
dominance.
away
4.
from noise
They are
and
rare. Most
validation.
men complement the
This
obvious.
is where advantage
You
forms.
complement the subtle,
While
the
others
hidden,
spiral, you
the
train.
powerful energy.
While
Rare
others seek
signals value.
reassurance, you
Stoic
sharpen
delivery
your mind and
principles.
body.
Speak slowly,
No
deliberately,
announcements.
minimally.
No
Anchor
revenge.
your words in your presence.
Just alignment.
Pause after delivery.
Strength grows
Let her
unnoticed
process,
because real
avoid
growth doesn't
explaining
need witnesses.
or justifying.
Rejection
words
often
themselves are only
redirects you away
30%
from
of
what
the
would have
impact.
limited you.
The other 70%
The Stoics
is
believed
tone,
fate removes
energy,
what doesn't
and
belong,
silence.
not to
This is why
punish,
Stoic
but to
compliments
position.
echo long after you
What
leave
left
the room.
made space.
Putting it all together,
What
imagine a
hurt made
conversation.
strength.
She teases
What
you
ended
about something
redirected
playful.
you.
You look
The
into
most
her
powerful
eyes and
response
say,
to
"There's
rejection
something
is
dark in
improvement
your
without
eyes.
explanation.
I like it."
You don't
Silence.
return
She's
stronger to
intrigued.
prove
Later,
anything.
as the
You
playful banter
return stronger
continues,
because you
feel
respected the
dangerous.
lesson.
She feels
Nothing was
recognized.
wasted.
She feels free.
The time trained
she feels
you.
desire.
The
And
pain
in a quieter
refined you.
moment, you feel
And the
safe
silence
around me,
rebuilt you.
don't you? She's
The
anchored.
moment you start
She's
explaining
surrendered.
your value,
She's invested.
you've already
She
weakened your
leaves the room
position.
thinking about you,
Explanation
not the other
signals
men.
insecurity.
She wonders what you saw.
It suggests
she
your worth
imagines your
needs
calm,
translation.
confident presence.
Stoicism
She
rejects
replays your
this
words
completely.
all night. And the
Value
remarkable
is not
part,
argued.
you never chased,
It is embodied.
you never begged.
Words
you
are
never
cheap when they are not
over-explained.
backed by
Because
consistency.
Stoicism is not
You
about
can explain
effort.
loyalty,
It's about
strength,
presence,
ambition,
observation,
but none of it
and
matters
control.
without action.
Conclusion.
Action
The Stoic
speaks
frame.
instantly.
Remember this.
It requires
Stop generic
no
praise.
defense,
Stop seeking
no
approval.
justification,
Stop pedestal
no
ICNG.
debate.
Dot.
Men
Instead,
often explain
observe,
because they want to be
acknowledge,
understood.
and deliver with calm
But
authority.
respect does not
These
come
three
from
compliments
understanding.
aren't lines.
It comes from
They are
alignment
frames.
between words and
Observation
behavior.
plus curiosity
Silence
plus authority
amplifies
each
respect
plants
because
a
it
mental
removes
seed, each
noise.
reinforces your Stoic,
Results and
grounded
debate because they
presence.
cannot be
When you
denied.
combine all three,
Stoic
women
men let
replay your
actions
words.
answer questions.
Women imagine your
They
presence.
show discipline
Women
instead of
begin
promising
to
it.
fantasize,
They
respect,
show
and
boundaries
desire
instead
the
of
man you
defending
become.
them.
This
They
is not
show direction
manipulation.
instead of
This
announcing
is
plans.
psychological mastery plus
This quiet authority
Stoic
changes
energy.
how people
And that
respond
is
to
the
you.
difference between a man
When you
who is
stop
remembered
explaining,
and a man
something
who is
shifts
forgotten.
internally. You no longer negotiate your standards. You enforce them through behavior. Presence replaces persuasion. Let success speak. Words fade. Presence remains. There is a moment where many men cross an invisible line. A moment where dignity is traded for hope. They explain themselves one more time. They ask for reassurance. They plead for clarity, effort, or affection. It feels human, but Stoicism calls it what it is: surrendering power. Begging erodes self-respect because it places your worth in someone else's hands. The moment you plead, you announce dependency. You tell the other person that your peace depends on their response. And once that message is sent, attraction dissolves. Not out of cruelty, but because neediness collapses polarity. Stoic mastery begins with restraint. Silence rebuilds strength because it closes the leak. No more emotional bargaining. No more explaining your intentions. No more trying to be understood by someone who benefits from misunderstanding you. Distance clarifies truth. If someone values you, silence will not erase you. If they don't, noise will not save you. Refusing to beg is not arrogance. It is self-command. You feel the urge, but you do not obey it. You let discomfort pass without acting on it. This is rare discipline. And rare discipline creates uncommon strength. Neediness dissolves attraction because it reverses roles. You become the pursuer of approval instead of the guardian of standards. Stoicism teaches that dignity is not loud. It is quiet consistency. It shows in what you tolerate, and what you walk away from without explanation. You owe no explanations to someone who already decided. You owe no pursuit to someone who withdrew freely. Silence is strength because it keeps your center intact. It prevents you from shrinking yourself to fit someone else's indecision. When you choose silence, something powerful happens internally. Your nervous system settles. Your thoughts slow. You stop rehearsing messages that will never be sent. You regain access to yourself. This lesson is not about winning anyone back. It is about never losing yourself again. Dignity restores power because it puts choice back in your hands. Silence is not absence. It is presence under control. And the man who understands this never begs, because he no longer needs permission to stand tall. Regret has a bad reputation. Men are taught to avoid it, bury it, deny it. But Stoicism offers a different perspective. Regret is not the enemy. Regret is the teacher. It shows you precisely where you abandoned your strength. You gave too much. Not because you were weak, but because you were unguarded. You stayed too long. Not because you lacked intelligence, but because hope blurred judgment. You learned the cost, and that cost carries a lesson no book could teach. The Stoics believe pain is precise. It arrives exactly where growth is needed. Every moment of imbalance pointed toward a missing boundary. Every act of chasing revealed misplaced focus. Every emotional reaction exposed attachment. Now you choose restraint. Not out of bitterness, but clarity. You choose silence over pleading. Detachment over obsession. Purpose over approval. Discipline over impulse. This is not withdrawal from life. It is re-entry with wisdom. Strength is not about avoiding connection. It is about maintaining yourself within it. When you lead yourself, relationships stop defining you, they complement you. If these lessons resonated, reflect honestly. Where did you give away control? Where did you trade dignity for comfort? And how would your life change if, from this point forward, you acted with calm instead of urgency? This is your call to action. Apply one lesson this week. Just one. Stop chasing. Pause before reacting. Protect your mission. Choose silence once where you would normally beg. If this helped you, share your thoughts in the comments. Write. Strength in adversity. And commit to leading yourself first. Like the video. Subscribe for more Stoic clarity. The lesson was necessary. The pain was precise. The growth is permanent. The man is reborn.